Liliana will be here in 15 minutes. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the November 16th, 2022 Finance Executive Committee meeting. I'm Alex Wana. The honor of serving as chair of this committee. I'm joined to my right by Vice Chair Howard Shook, and to my left, Councilmember Jason Winston, and we're also joined by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits. With that, we constitute a quorum, and this meeting is now officially called to order. First item is the adoption of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion and a second. I'll make the move. All right, motion from Winston, second from Shook. Let's open the vote on that, please.
One moment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
The vote is, one moment.
Waits is aye.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The agenda is adopted. Next item is approval of the minutes. Motion from Juan, second from Shook. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed, Mr. Chair.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The minutes from the previous meeting are approved. All right, that takes us now to public comment. Do we have anybody signed up? We do not. Okay, we will continue moving on with our agenda then. Next item is presentation, and we have the Department of Customer Service. I'll invite the team to come up to the podium. If you'll introduce yourself. We also have a copy of the presentation before us, and colleagues will have them go through the presentation and then do all the questions at the end. Commissioner Good.
Good afternoon. How are you all?
How are you?
Good. I'm sorry I'm a little bit out of breath here. So first, I just want to start with giving a kudos to my team just for all the hard work they've been doing over the last quarter. And so I would like to just share a little bit about what we're doing and how we're moving forward. So, I always forget this. So this slide just shows some of our core service support areas. So we support Department of Finance, Watershed, Public Works, ADOT. And also our hours of operations are 7 to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. We do have a multi-channel access. Most people call us by phone, but you can always email us. You could go through our social media platforms, and you can email, fax, always. So some operational improvements. So in the ATL 311 call center, we're still ensuring operational efficiency. So we're training our new hires and cross-training our current agents to handle all calls by facilitating an on-site training. So this is the first training that we've done since the pandemic, and it's going fairly well today, as of today. And so we will ensure a consistent, hands-on, engaging learning experience. Also, effective management has been very important in changing the morale in our department. So we call it the Path Forward Initiative. So we implemented this in June of this year to create a healthy call center environment. So the path forward includes creating a culture of feedback, leading our teams through change and daily motivation and encouragement, because we know so many people are going through so much, whether they share it with you or not. So we found that the motivation has been very helpful. Our workforce management team has created multi-skilled queues. And so this allows us to cross-train all our team members to take the calls that I mentioned before. Some operational highlights. So in social media, we implemented from our last quarterly report, I mentioned that we would start surveys, and we did. So we capture surveys for every channel that we receive cases for. So for instance, if we're at a community meeting, we get surveys sent out. Our social media team, our back office team, and of course our supportive services team that supports PAD. So we think it's very important that we understand our customer needs, and we have been using that information to make business decisions. So for instance, and I'll share just a few, for social media, they oversee our community meetings. We've attended 273 community meetings since January. And we've also still use the SUFA signs, if you're familiar with those, but those are informational signs throughout the city, and we have been putting graphics on that, informing customers of what's happening. And so from that, they've received about 157 responses since we launched this, but the surveys have been very helpful. Supportive Services implemented text surveys for our callers. And so we have received 400 surveys there. And we've sent out but received about 100 responses. And for supportive services, some things that they have done on that side, in August 2022, the ATL 311 team were first callers to MARTA now. So MARTA has a program called MARTA Hope. And so this team helps homeless outreach, and they're very proactive in the engagement that they provide to that community. In September 2022, we gained additional divergent provider for Partners for Home, for homelessness self-referrals, and their name is Zabin Paradis Center. In October 2022, we partnered with APD, E911 dispatchers, and now they transfer public indecency calls to us. And since we started this October 1st, we've received 16 transfers, and the response time from PAD has been about 20 minutes. For our personnel, so what we've seen, we have 117 positions. We have filled 102, and we're at an 87% filled rate. We have 15 vacant positions. Most of them have been resignations. So as you can see here, we had 11 resignations over the last quarter for the year, fiscal year. And then also the highest month of turnover was in September, where 7 employees were separated. Our call volume data. So in the call center particularly, we've seen calls presented each month have decreased. And so we typically see this in this season, going into the holiday season, and it's getting cold. But we've also have had the ability to meet our service level. So I'm very proud of the team. Our KPI, or key performance metric for the call center, is to answer 80% of the calls in 60 seconds. And as you can see here, we have done that since August, our last quarter, so 82%, 85% for September, 98% in October, and as of today, we're at 96%. For supportive services, they have captured the average calls that they receive or presented to them is about 1,000 to 1,062 calls per month. And so that team, again, partners with PAD. They facilitate outreach to individuals experiencing concerns related to mental health, substance use, and extreme poverty. And what we've seen here is that most of the time, the response time for PAD has been 30 minutes. For our call stats, we have seen last time I came here, I think we were at 9 minutes call handle time, and our speed of answer was sometimes 30 minutes or longer. I'm happy to report as of August, our average handle time per call has been running the 6 minutes time frame, and we are answering at 44 seconds. In August and September, you saw we were picking up the calls at 34 seconds, and last month we were at 21 seconds. So I'm happy that customers no longer have to hold to get service. For post-call survey results, And this is showing here that customer experience so far for services provided by 311 is at 92.7%. Some of the top 5 cases we are receiving per department. So here you see at DWM, and I'll just highlight the top 2 or 3. For DWM, we're getting bill inquiry for active water and sewer account for the last quarter, a little bit over 3,000, and account information for active water and sewer account, a little bit over 3,000 as well. For DPW, the highest is bulk collection requests at 5,000. For municipal court, we're seeing I failed to appear at court, 8,000 calls came in, and when is my court date and time at 7,669 calls. For code enforcement, their top calls were code enforcement overgrown grass at 964 calls, and secondly, junk, trash, and debris for private property at 751 calls. Department of Finance, what we're seeing here is registering a new business came in at number 1 at 1,480, and then secondly, business license renewal, City of Atlanta, 747 calls came in. For PAD, their top 2 is basic needs, and secondly, finding housing solutions for referrals. For Notify ATL, we are still sending out non-emergency updates to customers. And the top 2 that we've done the last quarter was around severe weather updates and bulk pickup reminders for DPW. We did have an increase in subscribers, and so about 4,500 customers opted in to receive messages last quarter. A little bit more about PAD. So what we're seeing here, just in general, for October, PAD responded to 97 marked calls from 301, and which they were all marked immediate priority. And the average response time for those calls were at 41 minutes from PAD. And PAD responded to 24 calls marked as 311 outreach, and their average response time for those calls were at 61 minutes. For social media, everybody loves social media. They get a lot of kudos for their work. But we have seen an increase in Twitter and Instagram, so most of our case submissions are coming through there. The social media data, so it's not shown here, but some of their top 5 that they get are around scooter and bike removal. Also, they get things around traffic and signal repairs, bin pickups are some of their top. In last quarter, they received 3,171 messages, and they were able to create 1,177 cases for fulfillment. And this here just really just shows the survey results again, all positive for the teams since we implemented this on from the recommendations we received from all of you. So back office team handles calls that are coming through our email. It could be on the portal submission. And also they handle escalations. So as you can see, our escalations picked up a lot since the last time I spoke to you. And this is where it varies. It could come from a department. It could come from SLAs being missed. And so we have seen in August and September where it was the highest, coming over at 1,739 and 1,659, but it did decrease in October. But the team has been able to turn these around and work very closely with the departments to get these matters resolved. And so technology. So last time I spoke, I said we were going to launch in September, but I'm happy to say that we will be launching this month. So let me tell you where we are now. So we went back and we looked at our solutions, and we wanted to ensure that we build viable solutions for our customers. We did not want to launch something that just wasn't ready. And so we've been working very closely with AIM, and what we've done is we held focus group sessions. We've also had to look back at the customer journey and look at their pain points to ensure that the solutions that we will deploy make sense overall and make it easier and a better customer experience. We also had to define some goals, make them clear so that we again are producing the right product. But we also are in the process of doing lots and lots and lots of testing, as you can imagine, because we want to ensure that when we deploy, that the system works the way it needs to. So we will be deploying. The date is November 21st, just before Thanksgiving, and I think this will be a great Thanksgiving blessing for the city. But we are looking to deploy the IVR, the chatbot, and we will be relaunching the mobile app. So as soon as we do all of those, I will send you an email. But I'm sure you will be happy with the outcome. We will continue to receive feedback and continue to improve the services of each of those technology systems. And then secondly, for phase 2, the CRM, procurement is working very closely with us to get the RFP advertised and so forth. So the goal is to launch that again in fiscal year 24. I do want to just say thank you again to CIO Sankey and his team, Chief Procurement Officer and his team, Mayor's Office of Communications and the mayor and the team for supporting us in all these efforts. And thank you to all the City of Atlanta departments. They have been with us every step of the way, every phone call, every engagement. The departments have been with us, so we truly appreciate it. And also, lastly, again, thank you to my team. And one thing I do want to say with the chatbot, the goal is to launch it with a live chat feature. So even though you will initially, it'll be sort of robotic, if you want to call it, but if the customer needs additional help, it would then transfer them to a live agent. And at this time, that is all I have. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Questions from my colleagues? Mr. Shook.
Yeah, thank you. One of the benefits of 311 was that there would be a reduction in calls coming into 97 other places. Has there been a kind of definitive study to see the extent to which, if at all, that's actually happened?
Yes, so we have looked at, and we do know offering self-service options helps. And so that is why we are deploying these options, because we want the customer, especially those that may be like me, I want to text or I want to go online. And we want to make sure that we have those options for all of our users. So it has shown that it will decrease call volume. And, but I will bring some metrics to you when I report out next time to show you how that has happened.
Will or has? 311's been around a minute now.
Yes, so, but we are now launching these systems. We did see when the mobile app launched previously, we did see a decrease in a lot of calls, especially around code enforcement. But when that mobile app was taken off service for submission of cases, our call volumes did increase there and in the back office team. So it will help us tremendously.
Does the administration still do the periodic, customer satisfaction surveys that they used to do?
Yes, so we do it after every call. We do post-call surveys. Oh.
Yeah, no, the administration
citywide.
used to run, well, in past administrations, but I don't know where that is, so that's why I'm asking you, because maybe you know, if they still run the kinds of surveys that we used to get copied on, and this was a while ago.
Yes, so I can have to defer that to the administration, but I can say that we do. For every call, for every intake, we do share that data with our departments and with the mayor's office.
Well, I'll conclude with this. It's a kind of a, two halves of a whole. I get amazing orchid letters or comments from how, they contacted 311 and the problem was solved lickety-split. And then, I get some not so perfumed comments. So I don't know what the difference is between that result and that result, but I can see progress. I would like to know if you can follow up, because one of the key things, and I was here for the creation, that, we were supposed to telescope 247 endpoint areas, like down to one. I'm guessing that hasn't exactly happened, but hopefully you can show me.
Yes, so we are continually assessing the operations, and the goal is to have ATL 301 as a one-stop shop for all non-emergency. And so we're still focusing on that.
All right, good for you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also need to acknowledge we've been joined by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond. Other questions before I throw in mine? I do want to say, kind of along Councilmember Shook's comments, last night I was at a neighborhood annual meeting, and one of the comments was how excited they were, happy and pleased they were with 311. And then the immediate follow-on question was, when's the mobile app coming back? So I'll be happy to share that with him, because I do think in terms of what he's saying in the diversion of calls, the mobile app probably is going to be our biggest savior or biggest impact initiative. So I'm excited to hear that y'all are getting ready to launch that. You said y'all been working on it. What if you were to categorize the obstacles to this point that caused the delay? What is it? Is it the interfaces? Is it the functionality?
Yeah, it was, resources was one, right? And so we had to ensure that we had it on our side and the vendor as well. Then secondly, functionality. So our current mobile app was not integrated into ServiceNow. And so with that, that also cost the two vendors to, to have some working sessions. And so that alone prolonged it. But mostly it was around resources and timing.
Gotcha. So when it launches, though, it will integrate in with the
ServiceNow.
Perfect. Okay. That's critical, as you know. The other comment I wanted to make was I think the strategy around the diversion calls from E911 over to 311, the PAD-related one, is a smart one. I think I see Peter Amon in the room, but all these strategies that we can deploy to help relieve the pressure off of 911 and non-emergency calls, I think to the extent that y'all can continue to seek those, I think will be helpful.
I agree. We're in alignment with you on that.
And I have to say the PAD folks are very excited about this as well. I think it goes along with just the whole strategy of really not providing services where we can, and particularly for those type of calls, rather than the immediate reaction of arrest or send police out to address those.
I agree.
In terms of the staffing level, the resignations, any trends? Is it they're just going to other municipalities? Are they leaving the industry completely? They want more money? What's the?
Yeah, well, so many of them transferred to other departments, and others just wanted a better opportunity. So our goal is to always enhance our team, to expand their wings and fly. So I'm happy for all of them, and but that was the trend that we're seeing.
I mean, it's crazy that when we looked at these numbers, I looked at Councilmember Shook and I circled the number 13, and I said, wow, they're actually doing better than most of the departments, and it's kind of sad that that's my initial reaction right now, but it is the reality. So just so long as you're following the reasons why we're losing folks, it's important. So
We are.
and then finally, the dissatisfaction on the post-call survey results, the strongly disagrees, and even the feedback that we might hear about dissatisfaction with 311, I have always attributed those to calls that come in, or complaints or projects or matters that are logged that then are not actually resolved, and then the system boots them in as, oh, that's been completed, or satisfied, when it's not. Are we still experiencing that? What progress have we made on that front?
We have, and I think that's where some of the escalations are coming in at, but I do think with the enhancements we're doing with the technology and integrations, it will help a lot. but we are meeting with the department still on a regular basis. We send in their compliments, complaints, and any SLAs that they have not met. So I do feel with some of the, with the continued discussions we have seen a decrease.
Okay. I was just going to say, I mean, I think that in terms of customer satisfaction is really the highest thing to focus on.
Yeah.
You know, the folks that call in and it's just something we can't help them with, obviously they will log how they log, but the ones that we could have done something with, and in the matter of getting it transferred from department to department, it gets dropped, those are the ones that we really have to plug the gaps on. And I lied, I do have one more final question. The things that come in through social media and through the those do get logged in our system in terms of incidents, right? So that we
Yes.
run data off of that.
We track every encounter with the customer, and we use it for tracking and follow-up as well.
Because the analytics, to me, that page where you showed each of the departments and the frequency of the incidents, I think is gold. It really allows the departments to focus in on where, you know, they should be investing their energy. All right, Mr. Shook.
Yeah. Do your call takers ever listen to or read the complaint and say, oh, that's a Fulton County issue, that's an APS issue, and here's the appropriate contact?
Yeah, so we hold calibration sessions every month, and so we meet with the agent, their supervisor, team lead, et cetera, and we listen to the call. And we think about ways that we could have said things better or help the customer better. And we also meet regularly with the departments to make sure that the verbiage and language is enhanced. We've also put in a measure for our agents, so if they're talking to a customer and the knowledge article is not clear, they have been providing information to us to help the customer experience. So the agents do listen, and they are very engaged with how we can improve our customer service with each of the agents and the services they provide.
So I know as a district person, you know, all of our offices get, you know, APS issues, Fulton County issues, and it's not fun to say,
Yeah.
oh, you know, we don't handle that, here's who you, but it's the reality. And so just based on my little sample size, I figure you get a whole lot of them.
And we do have information, general information on our website, so, but we do handle those calls as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for your presentation and the work that the folks in 311 do on a daily basis. My question is, I know that with 911, you can, I guess, set up a profile for someone who might call in and say, hey, person might be a diabetic, or they might, you know, be elderly, or whatever the issue is. Is there the opportunity to set up a similar type of profile with 311? You know, for our city residents. So if there are issues in the community that might be ongoing or what have you all thought about that or tried?
We have. So we've been talking to AIM because we want to embed in the service, in ServiceNow, that a pop-up screen that sort of identifies the customer before the agent engages with them. We had it in our last CRM, and we would definitely have it in our new CRM. But I think profile setups are helpful, and it makes the conversation personable. And so we will definitely look to see if there's a requirement we can add. But also with the information we receive in our system, we're able to track every call, every conversation that's had. So the agent do have the ability to say, hey, Ms. Good, you called last week, you know, and sort of make that conversation engaging and personable. So we'll definitely continue to have conversations around that pop-up box that will be helpful to our agents.
Yes, I think that having that feature available for regular issues, non-emergency issues, helps with the buy-in of people wanting to use it.
It's true.
We know that they'll have, it's more of a relationship builder than anything else.
That's correct. And we
Right, those concerns. But I guess the issue, the other issue I have, I don't know if you can address, but it does concern PAD. We got a PAD presented to public safety on Monday, their quarterly update. And, they're engaging with the city on an annual basis through their contract, and it's not really permanent. Or if they got an annual contract, they're not, how can I say it? Well, it's an annual contract. They're not permanently established as, quote unquote, a part of the city. And we've been doing that for about 5 or 6 years. And if we're going to go in a permanent direction with those types of services, Mr. Chair, I think at some point we need to address either doing an RFP for a multi-year contract with them or seeing if we can do some of the services they provide in-house. Like when we have the police inspectors and APD, they weren't necessarily doing referrals, but they were doing community outreach on behalf of APD, and they were city employees, and they were available beyond, 7 o'clock at night. But other than that, I noticed that you keyed in on the response time. 40 minutes is a long time in a personal crisis. You know what I mean? So if you need to get the help there quicker, the calls have to be transferred faster. And of course, those who are designated to respond need to be able to get there quicker. So, but that's just, a suggestion for a but other than that, I think you all are doing a tremendous job down there.
Yeah, so I just want to say the administration is working closely with PAD to determine the long-term plan for them. But the response times is set by PAD, and that is the time they have allotted for immediate services. Is usually 20, 30 minutes. And then if it's just outreach, someone calls and say, hey, I saw Billy on the corner every day from 11 to 2. Can you come out? Those response times are usually 40 minutes or longer.
Okay. All right. Well, I withdraw, Mr. Chair.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Any other questions for the commissioner? All right, seeing none, thank you. And we'll look forward to your email when the mobile app launches, and then get ready for the calls to come in.
Yes, and thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you. We've also been joined by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari. Colleagues, that concludes our presentations. I did want to acknowledge during briefing on Monday, we had a conversation requesting some information or an update from the administration regarding the Fulton County sales tax negotiations. Mr. Donald, the Chief of Staff, will be presenting that information to us at our next cycle. I just got confirmation from him on that. So just look forward to that. Okay, that takes us now to item G, communications. I don't see Ms. Key in the room. I know she's in the building, so I'm going to hold off on that and come back when we see her pop in. That then takes us to the consent agenda items, ordinances first read. Ms. Linda, if you will sound those for us, please.
The Chair. Item number 2 is 2020-1862. This is an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee to ratify services rendered in connection with Sole Source Agreement FC 8344, Aegis Software Licensing, Maintenance, and Technical Support with Environmental Systems Research Institute, beginning February 10th, 2022 through September 5th, 2022, and to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to pay outstanding invoices on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information Management in an amount not to exceed $472,416.00. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from department organization and accounts listed herein. Item number 3 is 2020-1863. This is an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute all appropriate documents to grant a permanent easement of approximately 12,155.42 square feet and a temporary construction easement of approximately 24,246 by 37 square feet over a portion of city-owned property located in land lot 111 of the 15th District, DeKalb County, Georgia, tax parcel identification number listed herein, to DeKalb County for construction and maintenance of a trail as part of a transportation improvement project, waiving Section 2-1571 and 2-1572 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code and for other purposes. Item number 4 is 2020-1864. This is an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor as designee to execute sole source agreement Number listed herein, maintenance and services for E911, Premier One CAD, and Premier One Mobile with Motorola Solutions, Inc., pursuant to Section 2-1191 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information Management, Atlanta Police Department, Atlanta Fire Rescue, and Aviation for a term of 2 years, retroactively commencing October 16, 2022 through October 15, 2024, with 3 one-year renewal term options in an amount not to exceed $1,574,989.00. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein. Item number 5 is 20-1865. This is an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorize the mayor as designee to amend the fiscal year 2023 general fund budget to create additional department organization account numbers on behalf of the Department of Public Works, to rename existing office account numbers within the Oracle financial system, to transfer personnel supplies, capital outlay, interfund intergovernmental charges, and contractual obligations for the Department of Public Works and for other purposes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Lindo. Those 4 items are received, and we will dispense with them during the next cycle. Takes us to ordinances for second reading. First item is number 6, 22-01810. Colleagues, we do have a substitute for this that changes the caption. I'll read it in and then make the motion. It's an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee, as substituted by Finance Executive Committee. Or authorizing the mayor or his designee to waive Section 2-1163C, Article 10 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, to ratify services in connection with FC 9316 Consulting Professional Services with Workiva, Inc., on behalf of the Department of Finance, Department of Watershed Management, and Department of Aviation from June 19, 2022 through December 18, 2022, to pay outstanding invoices for services rendered beginning June 19, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $67,142.25. All expenses will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein. And for other purposes, I move to bring the substitute forward, seconded by Shook. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The substitute is before us. Ms. Carr.
Good afternoon, Yolanda Carr, Interim Deputy CFO. I wanted to provide a little bit of background regarding this legislation. Workiva is a software that we use to produce our annual comprehensive financial report for Watershed, Aviation, and Central. So right now, what we're asking is to pay the invoices from June 19th, 2022 through December 18th, 2022, because the contract expired in June. And so we're continuing to use the services. And so we just want to make sure that we pay the outstanding invoices. We did in May of 2022 adopt legislation to move forward with one-year contract. But after we adopted the legislation, the vendor decided not to enter into the standard contract that the city had before them. And so right now we're looking for an alternative for a co-op, which is with a different company, and we're going to bring that forward at the next cycle.
All right, questions for Ms. Carr from, all right, there's a motion from Shook to approve on substitute. Is there a second? Seconded by Winston. Any other discussion? Let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is number 7, 22-01811. There is a substitute for this that changes the caption, so I'll read that in and make the motion. It is a substitute ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to pay outstanding invoices in an amount not to exceed $41,690.00 to PRM Consulting on behalf of the Department of Human Resources. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein. And for other purposes, the substitute removes references to the First Amendment in the caption of the body. I make a motion to bring that forward, seconded by Shook. Let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. The substitute is before us. Commissioner Smith.
Well, that was easy.
Well, yeah, we just brought the substitute forward. We haven't approved it yet, so.
Okay. Wishful
That
thinking.
was easy for us, but.
Okay.
All right, I guess I'm still learning. Um, Or wishful thinking, like I said before. Thank you, through the chair. Good afternoon. I wanted to bring this item forward because we asked that PRM, we were allowed to expand the scope of services that were originally allowed for the contract because we realized that from an administrative standpoint that we needed additional services from this vendor. And we're asking for permission to, I guess, to expand or pay for the expense of $41,690, which was the additional services that were incurred for review of our benefits and prescription drug proposals.
Questions for the commissioner? Not, there's a motion from Shook to approve on substitute, seconded by Bakhtiari. If there's no further discussion, let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved on substitute, and that was easy.
There we go.
All right, item number 8 is 22-01812, an ordinance by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits to amend ordinance 22-01718, which authorized donations from the Post 3 at-large carry-forward account to support various ministries and nonprofit organizations with COVID-19 relief efforts and for other purposes. As the author, did you want to speak to this, Ms.
Yes,
Waits?
sir. Motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion from Ms. Waits to approve, seconded by Shook. There's no further discussion. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved. All right, colleagues, without objection, I'm going to take items 9, 10, 11, 16, 19, and 21 together. These are all council carry forward actions. 22-01813, an ordinance by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $7,000.00 from the Post 3 at-large carry-forward account to support various ministries and nonprofit organizations with COVID-19 relief efforts and for other purposes. Number 10 is 22-01816, an ordinance by Council members Matt Westmoreland and Jason Winston authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $5,000.00 to the Atlanta Preservation Center and for other purposes. Number 11 is 22-01817, an ordinance by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $5,000.00 to the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta to support LGBTQ outreach and the Mayor's Youth Scholarship Program and for other purposes. 22-018, nope, not that one. 16 is 22-01824, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis authorizing the transfer of $5,000.00 from the Council District 9 carry-forward account to the Council District 9 distribution account to continue serving the Atlanta community for the public good and for other purposes. Number 19 is 22-01832, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier authorizing a donation to House Proud Atlanta, Inc. for the purpose of providing home repairs for seniors in an amount not to exceed $50,000.00 from the District 4 carry-forward account, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to contribute to the funding of home repairs of seniors residing in District 4 through a donation to House Proud Atlanta, Inc. and for other purposes. And item 21, which is 22-01835, an ordinance by council members Liliana Bakhtiari and Matt Westmoreland, authorizing a donation in an amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to Kirkwood Business Owners Association and for other purposes. Any discussion on those items?
Second.
Motion from Juan, second from Shook to approve all listed. Please, let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. Those items are approved. All right, so we can jump to item 12, 22-01818. There is a substitute with a change in the caption. The substitute increases the amount in the caption and body and then adds special procurement designation and attaches Exhibit A. It is an ordinance by Councilmember Byron D. Amos as substituted by Finance Executive Committee. To authorize the mayor or his designee to authorize the chief financial officer to execute a master lease agreement with J.P. Morgan Chase Bank N.A. for the acquisition of 2 MD-530FF helicopters and conversion of 1 MD-500E helicopter on behalf of the Atlanta Police Department to execute a special procurement agreement, number listed, purchase of helicopters with MD Helicopters LLC for the acquisition and conversion of the helicopters in an amount not to exceed $10,445,227.00 and for other purposes. I move to bring the substitute forward. Seconded by Shook. Seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The substitute is before us. I see Mr. Amon. If you'll come up, please, and tell us about these helicopters.
Yes, good afternoon. Peter Amon, Chief Administrative Officer, Atlanta Police Department. Thank you for your time. For many, many years, actually, this is something I worked on a little bit back in 2010. We have been looking to try and improve the aviation unit's equipment for the Atlanta Police Department. Currently, we have 3 operating helicopters. The first one was manufactured in 1974. The second one was manufactured in 1977, and the third was manufactured in 2001. So that places their ages at 48, 45, and 21, respectively. The other issue we have is that they are 3 different models: a Bell Huey helicopter, a Bell Jet Ranger, and an MD-500. This creates, both between the age and the difference of equipment types, significant operational problems in terms of spare parts, in terms of maintenance, and especially in terms of training, because this is now 3 different helicopters that we have to have pilots trained and certified on. So we have to do something, and it's been true for a number of years that we've had to do something. One of the challenges has been that these are very difficult helicopters to acquire. The wait time is generally 2 to 3 years to acquire either an MD unit or a Bell unit. And we were fortunate to get a call a couple weeks ago that there were suddenly 2 MD units available. An order had canceled. They meet our exact specifications, and so that is why we are here to request the purchase of those 2 MD units, and the refurbishment of the 1 MD unit that we have will then move to having a consistent fleet of 3 MD units. One of the reasons that we need 3 units is that there is an extremely high level of maintenance required on any rotary wing aircraft. There's engine maintenance at periodic intervals. There's engine overhaul requirements, and an engine overhaul may actually take several months. In fact, for our single MD helicopter unit that we have now, we actually have a spare engine. It takes so long to maintain and refurbish the engine, we actually swap the engine out and take that one to a shop for several months. So we are experiencing significant operational hurdles now. In fact, it's not uncommon for us to get messages at the police department that say we have, 20 hours left on the helicopter before it has to go down for service, and so we actually have to, sort of titrate and meter out the use of the air unit, which is not what we want. The air unit is vital to many, many public safety functions. It also allows us to perform certain public safety functions like, avoiding street racing or enforcing laws against street racing without having to engage in high-speed chases. So happy to answer any questions, but this has been an initiative for many, many years of the police department.
Questions for Mr. Amon. Mr. Winston.
One quick question. Is there any value in selling or surplus in the older helicopters?
Yes, well, there is some value. They're old. The 1 unit we're keeping, that has the most value. The Huey, the sort of almost Vietnam era Huey, has to be returned to the government. Because it was received on a government program, so that has no value. The Bell Jet Ranger, if we dispose of that, has a value of around $400,000.
Thank you.
Parts is parts. Councilmember Shook.
And are these still all out at PDK?
No, these are out at the airport. These are out at Hartsfield-Jackson.
Okay, I'm not on public safety, so
Yeah.
It's been a while since my last conversation about this. So so when one goes up, there's a pilot and a co-pilot, and so how many people are trained to do that?
So I'm going to call to the stand Sergeant Newman, who is with the aviation unit, to help me talk about the particular staffing.
It's great to have the choppers. I just want to make sure we
Well, it is better when you have somebody who can fly them. That is true. Otherwise, they are a very large paperweight. So.
Good afternoon.
Talk a bit about the staffing, how many pilots?
Right now, we have 4 qualified
Just
pilots.
for the benefit of the audience, identify yourself first.
Sergeant Chris Newman, Aviation Unit, Atlanta Police Department. We have 4 qualified pilots and 4 tactical flight officers, which are commonly referred to as observers.
I guess some of them will have to be retrained, given you're flying different birds.
Correct.
And who services these? I mean, it's not Fleet Services, is it?
Correct. We have a contract with Rotor Resources. It's a vendor out in Hiram, Georgia.
Thank you.
I know we get invited to police car ride-alongs sometimes. Is that? It is a real question, isn't it?
Are you referring to requesting to go up in the 1977 unit, the 1974 unit, or one of the newer units? So just any of those are certainly possible. The mayor was recently up in a unit as well. So certainly we're happy to talk afterwards.
After we approve the paper, right?
Exactly.
All right, Mr. Bond, you have the floor.
Well, just want to say this month marks the anniversary of the loss of Officer Halford and Officer Smiley. And so, for what it's worth, just want to call their names.
Thank you for doing that, and their sacrifice to the department, as everybody knows, those officers were very much lost in the line of duty while looking for a missing child, and it was a tragic and very deep loss for certainly the aviation unit and the department overall. So I appreciate your mentioning their names, and certainly part of this effort is to make sure that we support the officers who are very much taking risks by being up in the air on patrol.
Thank you, Councilmember Bond. Councilmember Waits.
To your point, we were able to name the Sean Smiley Act, and so now in the state of Georgia, children who lost their parents in the line of duty now go to school in Georgia at no cost to their parents, and we did that at the Capitol. We named it after Officer Smiley, and so again, thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you. Any other questions? There's a motion from Shook to approve on substitute, seconded by Winston. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
6 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. Thank you. All right, that takes us now to item 13, 22-01820. Ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone to amend Ordinance 21-00850, authorizing the carryover of December 2021 excess leave accumulation for the City of Atlanta employees for up to 20 days through and including June 30th, 2023, and for other purposes. Commissioner.
14.
Yeah, let's go ahead and I'll read in 14, and if we can take them together, we will. If we need to take them separately, we can as well. 22-01821, an ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone authorizing the carryover of December 2022 excess leave accumulation for City of Atlanta employees for up to 20 days through and including December 31, 2023, and for other purposes. All right, Commissioner.
I was told I forgot to give my name last time.
Oh.
Commissioner Tarlisha Smith, Human Resources. Yes, these items are coming forward because we have several employees who have time accumulated on the books that they have not been able to use, because if they actually take all of the time, it will create an operational impact. So we want to give them the opportunity to continue to have the time on the books to actually use, but it will sunset at some point. So we just want to make sure they have adequate time to use it.
All right, questions for the Commissioner? I did want to comment. I'm supportive of both these papers, but I do want, I know that the last 2 years have been particularly challenging in terms of scheduling because
Yes.
of folks being out, and the telecommuting and all that. So, but all that said, you know, I'm a firm believer in vacation time is important to employees because they have to recharge at some point. Because if they don't, then they're not as productive and they're not healthy. And I just think that I lean on you. We authorize this, but to the extent that y'all can work with the departments to make sure those that have particularly large amounts of carryover, that we put a schedule together so that they can get the rest that they need.
Absolutely.
Other
Will do.
questions or comments for the Commissioner? I'll make a motion to approve both items. Can I get a second? Seconded by Winston. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. Both items are approved. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank
All
you.
right, that takes us to item 15, 22-01823, an ordinance by council members Andre L. Boone, Winston, Faroki, Amos, Dozier, Bakhtiari, Hillis, and Bond to amend the charter of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, 1996 Georgia laws, page 4469 at SIG, adopted under and by virtue of the authority of the Municipal Home Rule Act of 1965, OCGA Section 36-35-1 at SIG, as amended by amending Part 1, Charter and Related Laws, Subpart A, Charter, Article 8, the Office of the Inspector General, to restore the full independence of the Ethics Officer and of the Ethics Office by removing the Ethics Officer and the functions and duties of the Ethics Division from the Office of the Inspector General and establishing a separate Ethics Office, to amend Chapter 2, Article 7, Division 2, to reflect the actions of this charter amendment and for other purposes. Yes, so I wanted to first let me acknowledge the Ethics Officer first, if I may, to have her come up and speak. And then I do see the folks from the Inspector General's office to speak as well. So you have the floor.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Wan and members of the committee. Jabu Sangova, and I am currently serving as a City Ethics Officer. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to address to the committee on this paper, which I understand was sponsored by Councilmember Boone. So I have been with the city, for those who may not know, I've been with the city for 14 years and served in this position for over 6 years. And we're very extremely dedicated to the work of this office. The Ethics Office was established in 2003, almost 20 years ago, and has built a solid reputation providing independent and objective advice on matters that are covered by the Ethics Code. To begin with, just to be clear, we have always been in support of the creation of the Office of Inspector General. And in fact, at the time when the office was created, my staff heavily supported and assisted with the setup of the new office, as well as the hiring of the first Inspector General. Now, we have operated under this new structure for a few years, definitely giving it time, as with any new structure. However, we believe that the change that is sought in this paper is necessary for the following reasons, which I'll go over. First of all, the role of the ethics officer should stay independent and free from any political influence, and really bolsters the public's trust in the independence of the ethics function, which is the case just throughout the country. It is our position that the Inspector General should not serve as a gatekeeper over ethics. Another point is that our function is different from that of an Inspector General. We serve in more of an advisory and regulatory function, and it is critical that we are independent from the oversight of the Inspector General, which is over investigations into potential criminal liability involving fraud, waste, abuse, and compliance matters that are under the jurisdiction of the Inspector General. Our function is educational advisory, and whereas the IG's function is primarily investigative. And we mostly do training, as most people know, training, education. We campaign to promote ethics to city officials, employees, vendors, and board members, and we've been doing that for several years. So our functions are primarily administrative, whereas the IG's role is more prosecutorial, policing, with a focus on deterrence and investigations of more serious abuses and potentially criminal matters, which is rightfully so. So we believe that the Ethics Office must remain operationally independent from those matters for us to effectively do our job and to serve the citizens of Atlanta. Additionally, we have found that in the past few years, the existing structure with both the ethics and IG under the same office has created serious administrative and operational challenges for us in terms of budget and personal related transactions. We have worked with, through no fault of the Department of Finance and Human Resources and Procurement, we worked on these issues. However, unfortunately, the only way that this can be resolved, because it has still been an ongoing problem, is for the separation of these two offices. Another conflict that we have found that could arise is due to the ability of the IG to even investigate ethics under the current structure. Rightfully so, the IG has been granted broad authority and power to investigate any matter based on reasonable suspicion. Therefore, this ability grants the IG inordinate leverage over ethics. Any such investigation, should that arise, should only be conducted by an independent outside entity, and if anything, investigations approved by the governing board, so that there is not a situation that is coming out of political pressure or even a desire to derail ethics. Likewise, we should not be able to investigate any ethics complaint against the IG without similar protection. So therein for us lies the conflict, because we're under the same office and we're dealing with some of these issues. The positioning of the Ethics Office as an independent chartered city office will simply build on the hard work of the past 4 years to strengthen the city's independent oversight and reaffirms the city's commitment to further establishing a culture of ethics, which we believe can endure to the future. And one thing I want to make clear is that the proposed paper does not negate or minimize any of the hard work and effort that was invested to create the Office of Inspector General. That is not the point, we believe, of this paper. Each office has a critical, yet operationally and jurisdictionally different role to play if we are really trying to establish a culture of compliance and ethics, which we aspire to. Each office plays an important role in supporting the city's position as a great place to do business and believes and will build the public's confidence in our day-to-day decisions. As well as another thing is that this paper will remove any confusion from the public, as well as for officials and employees, as to which office performs what function, an issue that we've also struggled with in the past few years. Finally, it is crucial that the City of Atlanta has an entirely independent and autonomous ethics function, and not one that is diluted by another office such as the IG's office. A horizontal structure in which all three functions, IG, ethics, and audit, are co-partners without eroding current levels of independence, would best serve the citizens of Atlanta. Thank you. And I'll take any questions if you have any.
All right, Ms. Ngo, thank you. I think let's hear from I see the board chair for the Inspector General's board, and let's have her come up and speak, and then we can start taking questions. So Ms. Hines, if you want to come and speak.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicola Hines. I am the chairwoman for the governing board of the Office of Inspector General. I go by G-Big. I'm trying to lower that name. Anyway, I have been on this board for now almost 6 years. I've been here when we actually did this legislation and this charter change in 19 and early 2020. And I was the presiding chair when we actually hired our first Inspector General for the City of Atlanta. You know, I will be honest. Last week, I heard about this first reading as I was coming back to Atlanta. And even though over the last 2 years, we've been talking about some of the proposed changes to the legislation as we've been working through them for the past 2 years. We have noticed that there is some language confusion. We've learned that there is some missing oversight procedures. And there, of course, there are some administrative issues. Myself, on behalf of the board, what we are asking is this committee to at least put this on hold, because there are multiple changes that we would like to propose to this legislation, and not just the ethics office. Instead of going to the well once right now and then trying to come back 6 months later and say, hey, the board would like to change this, or the IG would like to change this, we're asking if you can take the consideration of all the changes and then making one clean, clear, transparent legislation that can move forward. We are all here to, make this city better. And as we are in it for the last 2 years, we have seen some difficulties, some changes, and things that are needed to make it a better piece of legislation. So that's why I'm coming in front of you in terms of the board to ask for a hold. I believe we did give you the board's proposed changes, and you should have the Inspector General's proposed changes of the certain sections. There's not a lot. You know, we have reporting structure, we have jurisdiction, we have some things like that that we just want you guys to look over.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. All right, I'll now open it up for questions or comments from my colleagues. All right, I see Mr. Shook. Okay. Are you? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bond. Mr. Shook.
Thank you. Who wrote this at whose request?
Sorry, which, the hold?
No, the legislation. That may be a question.
Oh,
for
the
Ms.
legislation, I believe Councilwoman Boone wrote the legislation. I'm not sure at whose request.
Ms. Sangova, do you have any more insight on that question?
At whose request? I spoke with Councilmember Boone about our concerns, but this was something that she proposed, so.
Okay. Well, so we've got about a third of council are new. They weren't around when we went through the very intricate dance, difficult dance that put us where we are. And if there's problems and that, you know, were unintended or unresolved, I'm all for taking a look at resolving them. But because of the complexity of this, I would much prefer to follow the counsel of our former colleague Jim Maddox, who liked to remind us that a lot of times it's better to measure twice and cut once. So I'm hoping this committee will want to hold this so that we get this right. Thank you.
Other questions? Do you want? Councilmember White?
I thought I was up there earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Councilmember
so
White.
I was taking a look at the proposed revisions, and to me, this just doesn't seem germane to what we're doing right now, which is separating the two agencies. This seems to be quite lengthy and no relationship to what we're talking about right now. And given the conversations that I've had with Ms. Jabu, it seems very much appropriate to go ahead and separate the two agencies. However, I will yield to our veteran colleagues in terms of their guidance, but I just want to be clear in terms of what this document is and the changes that they're proposing for one agency. I just don't see the relationship to delaying what ultimately should happen today to deal with another matter. It just appears that they're not related in any way, respectfully.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, if either of y'all would like to respond to that, that's fine.
Councilwoman Waits, the reason why is because if you look, there's the change of the overall charter, and there's changes in each section with the proposed charter that Councilwoman Boone had did. What we're asking you, since we are going into a charter change, is to not just take out one part of this charter, which is the ethics office, but look at the ethics office changes, look at the board's changes, and look at the inspector general's changes, which is the full charter. And we are saying we'd rather go and have you look at the charter itself and make it a better piece of legislation moving forward and not just taking one department of it. That's all we're asking for you to do.
May I answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not opposed to breaking up the agencies, though?
No, if that's, if that's what makes it better, a better piece of legislation, no. We're just saying that, hey, if you can hold it and then look at all the other proposed changes so that we're not coming back to you in April saying, hey, we still need some oversight issues, or hey, we still have some jurisdiction issues, that type of stuff. So that's what we're asking for you to do.
Do you know what the timeline is?
Or to do these,
To come back and visit this again?
I think that's up to us, really. I mean, we can control that calendar. Yeah. We can control that.
May I speak?
Yes, please.
So I do understand, and my chair has some changes that she's proposed. I think for us, it's a structural change, and some of these, there's a critical nature to our changes because we are going to the budget cycle, and I've actually spoken with CFO Bala, and this would make things move quicker. So I was just, in terms of trying to move things along. Thank you.
Yeah. Other comments? So for me, kind of being on the outside when the office was created, I was very aware of the the sausage making and how difficult that was and how complex and interrelated everything is. So I take Councilmember Shook, who really now sitting up here at the podium is the only one of us sitting here who went through that. So the fact that I was aware of the difficulty, the importance, but also the desire now, if we're going to open this box, that let's do it. Let's make sure that we're going through and being very thoughtful about it and comprehensive. I appreciate that piece as well. I don't think we want to drag this out. I don't think that's the intent. But the fact that I think it did catch a lot of people by surprise when it dropped on Monday, including folks from your office, the administration, and even council members. I know that we had heard rumblings about it, but I do think it would be in our best interest to hit the pause button this cycle, at least one cycle, and start talking through it, but not with the desire of dragging this out or dragging our feet because of the challenges that you're experiencing in operations. Yeah, again, this is one of those things that we got to do it right for a number of reasons, both because of the importance of the function, but also for the public as well. So at the right time, if there's a motion to hold, I will definitely support that. So Councilmember Whites.
Councilmember Shook, again, we're yielding to your wisdom. Would you be opposed to moving this forward and doing a separate piece of legislation to address the changes that are before us in terms of separating the agencies today? That seems to be the recommendation that I am receiving, is that they be two separate pieces of legislation.
I appreciate the question. I am guessing that upon further review and based on what I seem to have been put before me, that you could argue that a best practice is to have these functions separate. I'm probably going to end up there. And maybe this is just personal, but I don't want to go through this a third time, a fourth time. At one time, this was the hardest thing I've ever worked on here. I want to get it right. It'll take 2 weeks. We don't start worrying about the budget just yet. That's a red herring. There's plenty of time. Motion to hold.
Motion from Shook to hold. I will second that. Before we vote, anything else that y'all want to say? I mean, again, I just want to impress that it is not to drag it, but to just be comprehensive and thoughtful.
Yes. I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. I'm fine with holding it a couple of weeks. I just want to make sure we're moving it along because it does have to go to Committee on Council. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Other discussion?
To share, like I said, from the board's perspective of just, overall, to give us the opportunity to kind of put our recommendations up forward.
Thank you. I would also ask, at briefing, I know that the city attorney had made some comments, and I know that finance needs to weigh in as well. So I would ask that in this interim period, to the extent that there is, all the impacted departments, be sure you take a look and analyze it and then be able to provide that back to us and guide us. Okay. All right, so there's a motion and a second on the floor to hold. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item will be held, so thank you all. I see Ms. Key in the back now, so I'm going to go backwards to our communications and pick that item back up. It is item under G, number 1, 22-C 5173, a communication from council members Winston, Farokhi, Amos, and Dozier, and Bond, appointing Ms. Stacy Key to serve as a member of the City of Atlanta Procurement Reform Task Force. With that, I'll ask you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of the City of Atlanta on the Procurement Reform Task Force. This appointment is truly an honor as it allows me to use my expertise and many years of experience in supplier diversity and procurement to benefit the city. I lead the Georgia Minority Supplier Development Council, GMSDC, the state's oldest and most influential supplier diversity and minority business development organization. For 47 years, GMSDC has had one focus. We connect Georgia's corporations and governments with small and minority businesses. Currently, our community includes over 400 corporations, all the brands you know and love here in Georgia, and 900-plus minority businesses who transact $9 billion in revenue in 2021, creating thousands of jobs and employing over 50,000 employees in our great state. GMSDC is a leading source of best practice information and resources for companies and municipalities looking to enhance their supplier diversity and procurement practices. I pledge to bring these resources to the city as part of this task force initiative. I would like to congratulate the new Chief Procurement Officer and look forward to working in partnership with him to ensure he has the support and resources to move the city forward. I also have the privilege of representing the 5th Congressional District on the State Transportation Board, representing the entire city of Atlanta, and many of you I know and have talked to many times. We're not going to go there. It is my privilege to serve the city of Atlanta, and thank you again for this opportunity. I look forward to rolling up my sleeves and getting to work on behalf of the citizens and the businesses of the city of Atlanta. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Key. We have questions and comments from Councilmember Waits.
Yes, Councilwoman Waits.
I couldn't wait till you got here today. Greetings. It's a pleasure to see you again, and thank you for your service. I've enjoyed our time working over at the Capitol. Congratulations on the appointment. I was wondering the appropriate time if we could discuss a moratorium on construction on the City of Atlanta highways during holidays and weekends. I don't know if you were on the highway the last weekend, but there was some construction work done right there in the very smallest part of the highway, which left many of us on the highway delayed at hours. And so my question is
No, I can't imagine that.
It happened. And so if we could do a moratorium, hopefully during all holidays, specifically in the city of Atlanta, you know, the rest of the state will just deal with it. But if we could do that on the weekends and holidays, I think that would be terrific.
I think we can schedule some time to discuss that.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Waits.
Thank you.
You're going to have to get behind Councilman Juan, though. He's already got me.
I already asked her about something earlier.
He already got me.
All right, there's a motion from Bakhtiari to approve, seconded by Winston. Before we vote, I did want to say, these are the exact kind of appointments I think we should be making to the task force. I mean, to guide, I know the CPO has done an amazing job.
You did good. You did good with him.
But to have a resource available to him to bring in industry best practices to bounce ideas off of. He's talked a lot about focus groups, your skill set, your experience, and who you represent.
I want to bring all to bear all the corporations that we know and love here that have practices, have information. Bring that to him so he has a resource to be successful. It's all of our best interest.
All right, Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Quick question. Well,
You're going to be behind Councilwoman Waits.
oh no, quick question though. Which district do you live in?
I live in Buckhead.
Could have sworn it was 5. I was
She
hoping
shoots,
to cheat
she
and cut the
misses.
line.
But I work in, my office is in Midtown. Okay,
All right, you better stick with your motion to approve. All right, it has been moved and properly seconded. If there's no further discussion, let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. Votes closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. Ms. Key, thank you again for your willingness to serve.
Thank
So
you.
the next step for you will be Committee on Council. You won't need to appear at that meeting on Monday, but just know that that will be the next step in the appointment process.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, I am lost. I went back. All right, so we're on 17. 22-01830, and we do have a substitute for this that changes the caption, so I'll read it in the new caption. It is an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute special procurement agreement number listed, Covendis On-Call IT Services with uwork.com, Inc., doing business as Covendis Technologies, Inc., on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information Management pursuant to Section 2-1191.1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for a term of 1 year, retroactively commencing August 12, 2022 through August 11, 2023, with 2 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $3,923,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes. The substitute reduces the dollar amount in the caption and body and corrects the format for an ordinance rather than a resolution and attaches the IPER report. So I'll move to bring the substitute forward, seconded by Shook. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The substitute is before us. CIO Sankey, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Chair Wan and members of the Finance Executive Committee. I am Jason Sankey, Chief Information Officer representing AIM. As stated, this ordinance is to request approval of a special procurement retroactively to August 12, 2022. Legislation was actually previously adopted on July 5th of 2022. However, once we began negotiating the contract, we ran into issues with the cooperative agreement. This is why we're bringing it forth today. And I do want to thank the Department of Procurement for their collaboration and assistance in this legislation. This was a difficult one to get through. And this agreement will provide temporary technology support services for departments citywide.
All right, questions for the CIO? There's a motion from Shook to approve on substitute. And colleagues, just so you know that there is a letter in the packet from the CPO in terms of the justification. Did anyone second that? I'll second it, and let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved. All right, next one is item number 18, 22-01831. An ordinance by Councilmember Alex Wan authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a lease agreement with Ultimate Bodies by Carlos, Inc. for lease of commercial space with the property located at 1529 Piedmont Avenue Northeast, Suite L, for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options for the continued operation of the property as a retail development, waiving Section 2-1547, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, and for other purposes. Colleagues, we do need to amend this to attach the draft lease agreement. I'll make the motion to amend, seconded by Shook. Let's open the motion to vote on the motion to amend, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The paper is amended with the lease agreement. Mr. Santil.
Greetings, Chair and committee members. Remy Santil, Commissioner of Department of Enterprise Asset Management. The purposes of ordinance is as stated to enter into an agreement with the new proprietor for the space at hand.
All right, any questions? I'll make the motion to approve as amended, seconded by Shook. If we can open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved as amended. All right. Next item is number 20, 22-01834, an ordinance by Councilmember Amir Faroki waiving the competitive source selection requirements contained in Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, and authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a cost agreement for event production services with Live Nation Entertainment, Inc. for the 2022-2023 Peach Drop Festival for the benefit of the public in Atlanta in an amount not to exceed $500,000.00, authorizing that all Peach Drop contracted work shall be charged to and paid from the accounts listed herein, to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to execute any insurance agreements which may be necessary for the city's sponsorship of the Peach Drop Festival and for other purposes. I had it down that Ms. Barley was going to be, oh, there you are. Sorry. Hi, how are you? If you can come up and tell us a little bit about this legislation.
Hello, Mr. Chair, Councilmember Wan, and everyone. My name is Ebony Barley. I'm from the Office of Special Events in the Mayor's Office, and we help facilitate, coordinate the Peach Drop yearly. And this legislation is really a service agreement asking the city to enter into a service agreement with Live Nation as they produce the Peach Drop. And what happens, Councilmember Wan, is Live Nation puts forward the funds for the Peach Drop, and we reimburse them after the event for the cost, meaning the stage, production cost, et cetera. And that's what this paper does.
All right, and it is going to be back at, is it at Underground?
Thank you for the announcement.
It is, right? I'm looking at the description of the staff.
We do have a representative here from the underground, so we plan to
Okay.
have it at the underground.
Okay. And then the source of funding for this, I just see account string, but I didn't know exactly what account that was coming from.
I'm going to defer to Chief Financial Officer Bala, but from what I understand, it's a non-departmental account.
This is a non-departmental. It is budgeted for in our annual budget process. So this was anticipated and budgeted in non-departmental, customarily budgeted in that account.
I'm supportive of the event. I'm supportive of the activity. Is this something that really we should be budgeting into a department rather than non-departmental? Something like either the Office of Cultural Affairs or maybe even the Special Events Office? I just feel like that puts a stake in the ground in terms of something recurring that we know that we have intentions of doing as a celebration for the city.
We can certainly, going forward, look into the appropriateness of it, but customarily, that's where it had been budgeted, and we've just carried that forward with this budget year as well.
All right, questions from my colleagues? I see Mr. Shook.
Who owns the actual peach?
An outside entity. It is called the WOW Group. They own the actual peach. No one from any other governmental entity owns the peach. Just FYI.
Thank you.
And I'm curious as to who they might be thinking about musical performers, but that's a whole nother conversation. All right.
Council member.
And if I can fly the police helicopter over. All right, any further discussion on this item?
I think Howard wants to know if he can be a shareholder in the peach.
I think he wants to hold the peach. There's a motion from Shook to approve. I'll second that. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
All right, 5 yeas, 0 days. The motion carries. This item is approved. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you. And just so you know, you all are very welcome to join myself and the mayor in the cold on December 31st at 11:50 p.m. Okay?
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this? Because judging by your tone and your facial expressions, it seems you're ecstatic.
I'm excited to see you out there. I'm going to call you.
Yes, you will call me on FaceTime. I will be in my house and some warm, drinking some hot chocolate.
We do have hot chocolate, council member.
Yes, I have hot chocolate in my very warm home and a working TV.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, that takes us now to resolutions. The first one is item 22, which is 22-R4590, a resolution by Councilmember Jason Winston to accept and adopt the 2022 Fulton County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan revised by the Atlanta-Fulton County Emergency Management Agency based on the Hazard Mitigation Assistance Planning Guidelines provided by the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the purpose of ensuring mitigation and preparedness from natural hazards and for other purposes. Mr. Denbrock, if you'll come up and tell us about this legislation, please.
Good afternoon. Yes, sir. This is the hazard mitigation plan. Hasn't been done in 3.5 years. And along because of the COVID, basically what we're looking at is identify hazards throughout the city of Atlanta, and we're also within Fulton County, with one of the 15 cities, and looking to identify things such as flood zones, anything that will be damaged by a dam, but we don't have any nearby, earthquakes, tornado risk, and any other hazards. And basically what we're looking at doing is a mitigation strategy. And one of my intents to do with, once the plan gets approved by City Council, is to leverage relationships with FEMA to get money from the federal government to mitigate those risks.
All right, questions for Mr. Denbrock. Mr. Winston.
Not a question specifically towards this, but Mr. Chair, I hope you indulge. Mr. Denbrock, it's just important, and I think that you also talk about the flu and booster shots that are available at City Hall, since you're kind of helping with that.
Yes, sir. Tomorrow we have the flu and the COVID shot. The new booster, the bivalent, is free for everybody here. Please take advantage. Tomorrow from 9 o'clock to 3 p.m. And then we'll have additional days in December.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I need to do that. All right, other questions? Do you want to make the motion since you're paper?
I'll make the motion to approve.
All right, so motion from Winston, seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved. Thank you. Next item is 22-R4592. There is a substitute, but the caption does not change, so I'll read it in. Resolution by council members Westmoreland, Bond, Waite, Winston, Faroki, Amos, Dozier, Bakhtiari, Juan, Shook, Hillis, Boone, Overstreet, and Lewis, authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $5 million and 0 cents to the Georgia Early Education Alliance for Ready Students pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support early childhood education initiatives, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. So motion from Bakhtiari to bring forward the substitute, which inserts the funding source. I will second that. Let's open the vote to bring that forward.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The substitute is before us. I had it that Mr. English from the mayor's office was going to speak to this. Is there someone else from the administration? Come on up if it's, you stood up. What was that? Yes.
So I had a bit of good luck on the way over here. I dropped everything. But that happened last time and you all passed it, so, meaning all my papers. I dropped everything right outside. So this,
And if you'll introduce yourself for the benefit of the public, please.
my name is Janine Lewis. I'm the Senior Director of Youth Engagement in the Mayor's Office. And today I'm here to speak about the decision to invest $5 million of the city's rescue plan funds for early child care education and early child care provider capital improvements. The $5 million donation would be part of an overall $20 million ask, where the city has been working with partners Sheltering Arms, YMCA, and Atlanta Public Schools to raise the $20 million goal. Part of the $20 million program consists of capital improvements. Oh, okay. The $20 million overall program consists of capital improvements and also resources and training, including professional development for early child care providers. The city's specific investment will go strictly towards capital improvements. The investment will be through GEARS, the early education, will be through GEARS, which of course we know is the Georgia Early Education Alliance for Ready Students, working with their local arm, which is PACT, the Promise That All Atlanta Children Thrive. So the city's $5 million investment will be the first actual transfer of funds towards the overall program. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, Mr. Shook?
I'm sorry, withdrawn.
All right, other questions? I have one. So
Yes.
I see that, we're putting forward $5 million, APS is putting forward $5 million, and United Way and Whitehead are doing 4.5. That leaves 5.5. How are we doing in terms of raising that balance?
We're doing well, and as far as verbal commitments, we have, the mayor has been speaking with Rotary and having many conversations with public and private funders, both locally and nationally, to support the effort. So as far as verbal commitments, we are looking at almost 18.5 before year end. But of course, the city needs to go ahead and put its dollar first.
And calling all benefactors, 1.5 million, if you got it. Maybe the California winner of the Powerball recently would throw in the 1.5 million.
We'll take it. We'll take it. It will be money well spent.
Right. All right, I will make a motion to approve on substitute, seconded by Bakhtiari. If there's no further discussion, let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. You may just make it a habit to drop your papers every time you come over here for legislation.
You know,
You're right.
I'll
It
see
seems to
you.
work.
I'll see you soon.
Yep, all right.
Thank
Okay.
you all. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right, number 24, which is 22-R-4604, there is a substitute for it with a revised caption. I'll read that in and make the motion. It is a resolution by Councilmember Alex Juan, as substituted by Finance Executive Committee, authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to refund customers for overpayments to water and sewer accounts in an amount of $81,327.07. All funds to be charged to and paid from fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed and for other purposes. Motion to bring the substitute forward by Bakhtiari. I will second it. Let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
4 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. The item is before us. Does anyone have any questions on this? If not, I'll make the motion to approve on substitute. Seconded by Winston. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. Next item is 25, which is 22-R-4685. Resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise the second renewal option for FC 10347 roof repair, replacement, and maintenance services with Rikers Construction LLC on behalf of the Departments of Enterprise Asset Management, Aviation, Corrections, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, and Watershed Management, effective November 14, 2022 through November 13, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $680,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Mr. Santiago, I believe you want us to file this, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'll make the motion to file, seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote, please. And just so you know, this will come back as an ordinance for us later.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. This item is filed. All right, next item is 22-R-4686. There is a substitute that reduces the dollar amount in the caption in the body, so I'll read it in the revised caption. It is a substitute resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise the second renewal option for FC 10398, citywide electrical repair and maintenance service with Capital City Electrical Service LLC, on behalf of the Departments of Enterprise Asset Management, Atlanta Police, Atlanta Department of Transportation, Corrections, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, Watershed Management, and Aviation for a term of 1 year, effective December 11, 2022 through December 10, 2023, in an amount not to exceed $820,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes. I'll move to bring the substitute forward, seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. Substitute is before us. Mr. Santil.
Greetings again, committee members. This legislation is as stated, just to exercise the second and final renewal option for this particular contract.
All right, questions for Mr. Santil? Mr. Shook.
Yeah, I noticed that the electronic agenda shows this as 4686. All right, that's consistent with the printed one. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, I'll make the motion to approve on substitute, seconded by Shook. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. All right, number 27, 22-R-4687, Resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to sole source agreement number listed, Aegis Software License Maintenance and Technical Support with Environmental Systems Research Institute, Inc., on behalf of the Department of Atlanta Information to modify Exhibit A, Service Provider Enterprise Program Terms, and Appendix B, EA Fee Schedule of the agreement, and for other purposes. The department has asked us to hold this, so I'll make the motion to hold. Seconded by Shook. Open the vote, please.
The vote is open. Please vote. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item will be held. All right, next item is 22-R4688. Resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into renewal option number 4 to contract FC 10169 voice permits IVR enhancement system upgrades with Selectron Technologies, Inc. on behalf of the Department of City Planning and the Department of Watershed Management for 1 year beginning December 18, 2022 through December 17, 2023 in an amount not to exceed $257,010.00 and for other purposes. I had either Mr. Pace, there you go. If you'll come up and tell us about the paper, please.
Good evening, good afternoon, committee members, council members. This is renewal of our IVR, which is interactive voice response system for permit inspections. So it allows for contractors and applicants, customers to call in inspections through the IVR system. It's a renewal paper.
All right, questions? There's a motion from Shook to approve, seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved.
Thank you, sir.
All right, item number 29, which is 22-R4689. Resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute special procurement agreement number listed, airfield markings and rubber removal on-call contractor service at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Highlight CBI JV to maintain the Federal Aviation Administration Part 139 certification for markings on the airfield on behalf of the Department of Aviation pursuant to Section 2-1191.1 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for a term of 3 years with 1 2-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $6 million annually. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Colleagues, we do need to amend this to add the iPro report, so I'll make that motion. Seconded by Shook. Let's open that motion to amend, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The amended paper is before us. GM Biodari.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Council Member, B.B. Odari, Aviation General Manager, seeking approval for this contract to meet our Part 139 FAA regulatory certification requirement in 2 areas, that is rubber removal off of our runways and painting of runways and taxiways. An annual O&M cost of roughly $6 million a year.
All right, questions for GM Biodari? Seeing none, there was a motion from Shook to approve as amended, seconded by Winston. Let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved as amended. Next item is 22-R4690, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to sole source agreement number listed, Airport Safety Operations Compliance Safety Management System with GCR Inc. of Georgia on behalf of the Department of Aviation to add enhancement configuration services to the Airport IQ Management System software module at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport in an amount not to exceed $115,750.00 to be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. GM Biodari.
So we currently have this software in place here that we use to conduct risk assessment for all projects that we do at the airport. We want to extend this now, and this is a one-time sunken cost to add this new module to help us with our hazard reporting procedure and our notice of violation procedures.
Any questions or comments? Motion from Shook to approve, seconded by Winston. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. The item is approved. All right, item number 31, there is a substitute for this that changes the caption to increase the dollar amount, and it also adds additional funding in the procurement department, so I'll read in the caption. It is 22-R4691, a substitute resolution by Finance Executive Committee to amend cooperative purchasing agreement number listed on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Assets Management to add the Mayor's Office of Communications, Television, and Technology as an authorized user, and to add funding for the Department of Procurement to purchase office furniture from the state authorized manufacturers listed herein, in accordance with Section 2-1606 of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, utilizing State of Georgia statewide contract number listed for a total amount not to exceed $520,000.00. All contracted work shall be charged to and paid from funding accounts listed herein, and for the purposes, I'll make the motion to bring forward the substitute. Seconded by Shook. Let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. Substitute is before us, Mr. Santil.
Greetings again, committee members. Remy Santil, Commissioner of DEEM, and the legislation is as stated, just to add the mayor's office to the contract and to add the additional dollars to as a funding stream.
Questions? There's a motion from Shook, seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. All right, next item, 22-R4692, also a substitute that increases the dollar amount and adds a funding stream. It is a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to issue task order number listed for contract FC 10641E, job order contracting services small, with F.H. Passion, S.N. Nielsen and Associates, LLC, for Grant Park Police Building Renovation Phase 1 on behalf of the Department of Enterprise Asset Management in an amount not to exceed $425,000.00. All work to be charged to and paid from accounts listed and for other purposes. I'll make the motion to bring forward the substitute, seconded by Shook.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. The substitute is before us. Mr. Santil.
Yes, greetings again. This legislation is just to do the renovations to the particular building at Grant Park.
I do have a question on this one. So the dollar amount has changed quite significantly from when it was first introduced. Can you walk me through that?
Right, so it's a phased project, but we wanted to get this, instead of coming back for more, we didn't want to just doing the whole complete project.
What's the overall project budget?
425.
Okay, so that's it.
That's it.
Motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion from Winston to approve on substitute, seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open.
It's to counter out that. Second.
The vote is closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays, the motion carries. Item is approved on substitute. All right, 22-R4693, a resolution by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the reemployment of retiree Ray Adams as a pension administrator in the Pension Division of the Department of Human Resources pursuant to Section 3-505A of the Charter of the City of Atlanta, Georgia, for a period not to exceed 520 business days. Compensation will be charged to and paid from the Fund Department organization and account number listed in an annual amount not to exceed $62,720.00 and for other purposes. Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To Alicia Smith, Human Resources Commissioner. We are asking for the reemployment of Mr. Adams, primarily for institutional knowledge, of course, I am new to the organization, and I understand, speaking with the team and several members here at the city, that he has valuable knowledge that will work very well for the pension office. And we're asking that he come back. He retired in good standing, and asking for approval for him to be reemployed through January, up to January 7th, 2025. Don't want to get in the habit of always going back looking for institutional knowledge from outside, but I will make sure that we look forward to a succession plan for this particular area and other areas in the city when we talk about have those separations of the institutional knowledge.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have questions. Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the privilege of meeting Ray 30 years ago when I was I think a 19-year-old intern, and I remember working under him briefly. And so I support this measure wholeheartedly. And secondly, I think this is a great measure in terms of bringing back folks who bring that knowledge. And so I hope we will continue to follow suit in terms of ensuring that we have the best talent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shook.
Yeah, and I'm going to vote for this, and I'm glad he's willing to continue to share his expertise. I will say, as I often have during these kinds of activities, if you show me an employee who's been here for 35 years, it's a safe bet he's not going to be here another 35 years. and there are some departments that probably need a little nurturing in terms of
Succession
family
plan.
succession plan.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Waits, you want to put forward the motion?
Second.
All right, motion from Waits, seconded by Shook. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved. Next item is 34, R4694, resolution by Finance Executive Committee urging the 2022 to 2023 regular session of the Georgia General Assembly to support the City of Atlanta's 2023 legislative packet and for other purposes. I'll make the motion to hold. This will, Kenyatta Mitchell will be before us in a future cycle to walk us through the packet, but this is more of a placeholder. Motion to hold, seconded by Winston. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item will be held. All right, colleagues, that now takes us to dual referred. We do have 3 coming to us from previous committees. The first one is 22-R4589, resolution by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits urging the Georgia General Assembly to amend OCGA 40-6-226 to increase the penalties for offenses related to parking for persons with disabilities to a maximum fine of $5,000.00 and to expand the authority of local law enforcement to tow vehicles which impede or block access to parking with persons with disabilities and for other purposes. This came out favorable as substituted from public safety, and they added a whereas clause to provide a range for fines. Any discussion or comments on this paper? All right, there's a motion from Waits to approve as substituted, seconded by Shook. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. Next item, 22-R4607, resolution by council members Dozier, Farokhi, Amos, Bakhtiari, Wan, Shook, Norwood, Hillis, Boone, Overstreet, Lewis, Bond, Westmoreland, and Waits. Winston, I see it added Winston and CDHS, requesting that the City of Atlanta develop a strategy to market affordable housing projects to all qualifying city employees and for other purposes. Came out favorable as amended from CDHS, and the amendment was to add Winston, HR, and Executive Office's references. There's a motion from Bakhtiari to approve as amended, seconded by Shook. If there's no further discussion, let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved as amended. Next item, 22-R4617, a resolution by council members Bakhtiari, Dozier, Westmoreland, Boone, Lewis, Winston, Farokhi, Bond, Wan, Waits, Amos, Shook, and Hillis, requesting that a provision be included that in the funding agreement for any residential housing development receiving financial incentives from the City of Atlanta, pursuant to which housing units would be made available to households utilizing housing choice vouchers as a source of income. unless the project otherwise receives rental subsidies from the Atlanta Housing Authority, doing business as Atlanta Housing, requesting that the Atlanta Development Authority, doing business as Invest Atlanta, Atlanta Beltline, Inc., the Fulton County Development Authority, and the Metro Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, or MARTA, adopt policies requiring that a provision be included in the funding agreements for any residential housing developments receiving financial incentives therefrom, pursuant to which housing units would be made available to households utilizing housing choice vouchers as a source of income, unless the project otherwise receives rental subsidy from the Atlanta Housing Authority, doing business as Atlanta Housing, and for other purposes. This came out favorable from CDHS, and I see that Councilmember Waits would like to speak to this.
I just simply wanted to thank Councilmember Bakhtiari for this legislation. I know that the city has often moved policies that have created some of the challenges that we're dealing with, and so I think this is an extremely important piece of legislation, and we're going in the right direction. Thank you.
Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Waits. I just wanted to again publicly state how grateful I am to my team, Josh Humphreys and Senior Advisor Courtney Lewis. I said Courtney Lewis, I'm so sorry. I'm very tired. Courtney English. And also to all of the development agencies that have signed on to this and voiced publicly support for this legislation. So
That's a motion. Is that a motion?
So I move to approve. Thank you.
Is that a second?
I think that.
Seconded by Winston. Motion by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote, please.
Big thanks to Councilmember Shook.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved. All right, we have two papers coming off of held. We're almost done. All right, the first one is 22-C, item 54, 22-C 5169, communication from Danielle Hampton, Chair, Audit Committee, submitting the City Auditor's Office Fiscal Year 2023 Audit Schedule. Ms. Noble, you have the floor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We distributed our annual audit plan for fiscal year 2023. I don't usually do a presentation on that, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. We laid out the 8 projects we currently have in progress that I think I've talked about in our quarterly reports, and the 7 we plan to start sometime during the fiscal year.
Yeah, that's a good question. Is the motion to accept and file like the other?
Yes.
All right. There's a motion from Shook to accept and file. I will, seconded by Bakhtiari. Any questions? I'm just kind of looking at the list real quick. Okay. City Council expenditures, May 2023. Get ready. All right. If there's no further discussion, let's open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. That item is accepted and filed. And then the last one is 22-01795. There's a motion from Shook to bring the substitute forward. I'll second that or Bakhtiari seconds it. An ordinance by Finance Executive Committee as substituted by Finance Executive Committee, or authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2023 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations bond proceeds in the aggregate principal amount of $406 million and 0 cents in connection with the City of Atlanta General Obligation Public Improvement Bond Series 2022A, 2022A1 General Obligation Public Improvement Social Bonds, Bond Fund 3163, and 2022A2 General Obligation Public Improvement Bond Fund 3164, and bond proceeds in the aggregate principal amount of $700,000 and 0 cents in connection with the City of Atlanta Various Purpose General Obligation Bond Series 2022B, 2022B Various Purpose General Obligation Bond Fund 3165. There's a motion from Shook to bring forward the substitute, seconded by Bakhtiari. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. The substitute is before us. Any questions? Well, CFO. Oh, hi. I'm sorry. You've changed. Did you want to say anything to this Deputy CFO?
Sure. Tina Wilson, Deputy CFO. This paper is to anticipate and appropriate the funds on the infrastructure bonds and the baby bonds that were closed on earlier this month and allow you to all begin spending.
It's time to start spending, folks. All right, any questions for the Deputy CFO? Motion from Shook to approve on substitute. I'll second. Why do you second? I'll second it. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open.
Share or share? Share.
The vote's closed.
5 yeas, 0 nays. The motion carries. This item is approved on substitute. Ms. Lindo, I believe that takes care of all of our legislative items. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, wonderful job.
Okay. Before we adjourn, well, first of all, any comments for the good of the order? Seeing none. The one thing I will just remind you, we have 2 committee cycles left for the year. So to the administration and to colleagues, if there are actions that we need to do by year end, let's go ahead and be mindful of that. If there's no further discussion, we stand adjourned. Thank you.